There we go. Looking handsome. Oh, fuck. Okay, what do you want to talk about today? Alright, let's get the notes started. 2024, Fober, 12, Charlie. 1954 is a 2000 meeting. We are discussing it theory and Alarith and goals, and we got to get him on a schedule. Goals, contact, Hood, Benaji, Burton. What you trying to do with your life? Because if you're trying to, if you want to, if whatever you're trying to do, if an internship with a neuroscientist is useful, bro, take my ideas to him. And we can figure out. Alright, so goals. And then also our grassroots shit, bro. YouTube. Can we just be the guys who invented? Alice? Are you not convinced? What's it like for you to discuss something? Okay, so let's see. Goals, contact some researchers, or do our own thing. And then if I'm consulting with him, if he's my consultant, don't ask him to brainstorm how mental mechanisms could be grouped. But this nigga's got to get caught up. I'm working too fast, bro. Ever since getting out into the woods, and especially since having a computer that I can always use and take out and stuff, I'm moving fast, bro. When I met him, I said, I'm glad that we're able to have these conversations. That's just to get you caught up. Now there's real work, what all this means. The fact that we're not a soul, and that consciousness is an illusion, and that we're distributed across these mechanisms. And what about your buddies? Test, Alaris. So, Alaris is a big deal. It theory was based on the research. Yeah, we want to say something like that to him. It theory was based on the research. Now we got to do research. Now we got to try and invent things. It theory was already known. They just didn't understand it. They just didn't understand it. Step one, convince them of that. See where we're at on that. Now that I understand it, now that, you and me understand it, it's time to fucking start applying it. Comes down to us to apply it. See, I remember in a previous call, are we on the same page? Do you understand that what a moment this is? Leo, understand. This moment. Maybe he's too young to understand, and he's too smart to understand, because he's like, oh yeah, I mean, anybody my age is going to think that this is an important moment. And yes, you're absolutely right. And that is also a big part of the reason that I think it's an important moment. But another part of the reason is real information. The fact that we are young enough to understand it theory. what the research has been saying for the last 150 years, bro. We can understand its theory, so it falls on us. Look at it from the future. Somebody had to come up with this stuff. It's gonna be us, bro. You're no little pawn, bro. You're McQueen, right? You're the powerhouse. I'm just in the corner telling you stuff, but you're the one who's gonna make it happen. All right, so we looked at Dahmer, attacking faulty reasoning. Oh gosh. All right, so basic how to evaluate an argument. Some different principles of evaluation and argument. Learned about the good logical moves, like certain arguments from authority, as long as it's not a false authority or it's not too rigid. You can never have a proof from authority, but you could have a strong inductive argument from authority. We got 5 qualities of a good argument: the structure, the relevance of the premises, the acceptability of the premises, whether the premises are sufficient for the claim, and whether the premises include responses to other claims. Okay, so that's fine. So what do I have to do for that? All right, so then we made the acronym. Great. Structure is the S, so relevance, acceptability, structure, RAS. And we already were saying that when you want to evaluate a thing, you raise it. Now that was REIS, which is reason, empiricism, imagination, skepticism, right? So you're checking, is it reasonable? Is it empirical? Have other things been considered? Is it, skeptical enough of itself? Has it demonstrated some humility? Which is all these things, except for maybe, well, the humility and the imagination, the skepticism and the imagination are both in the rebuttal premise that a good argument has. So now we're still saying raise, but that can also mean RAS. You're looking at relevance, acceptability, and structure. Although not in that order, it's probably easiest to go structure, relevance, and then acceptability. But we don't want to do, say, SRA. So step 1, structure. You identify the ASIC, the cast, the sex. Yeah, bro, so this is what I want us to be able to do. I want you to understand this stuff well enough for us to be able to brainstorm together. I'm tired of explaining. I'm happy to explain as long as necessary, but I'm also looking forward to the time when I'm not explaining, when we're brainstorming together, saying words at each other that maybe nobody else would understand. So yeah, here we have razor, and then we had this notation method of maybe going y, having a y if it's good, if we're going to yep it, and if we're going to pie it, then a p. And so you do so this line would, for instance, have next to it y, p, saying that the structure, the acceptability, and the relevance were all good, but there was an insufficiency. Well, you have the YP score. Yeah, I gotta explain all this to him. And then that takes us to today. Brilliant. Brilliant, 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 brilliant. All right, here he is. Let's go. I'm ready to say hello, but there's no video or no audio yet.
There we go.
Hello, Leo.
Hello, how are you?
I am good. How are you?
Pretty good, pretty good.
Fantastic.
Done with school, home. This is my second day home.
Sweet.
Yeah, yeah.
Sweet. Not to jump right into business, but does that mean that we can get you on a schedule then? I thought you ghosted me when I asked for a.
Yes, that was a tough time to get me on a schedule just because things were nuts with finals and shit. But yeah, let's I'm down. I'm in New York this summer, which is exciting. Um,
What are you doing in
let's
New York?
I'm working for Major League Baseball.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Um, so yeah, no, I'm down for that. I'm down for that. Let's do something
Me
like
too. In
it
case
would
people
ha it would
wonder.
sorry, say that again?
Nothing. Keep going.
Oh, yeah, something like if we could do once a month and if it was on a weekend or if it was like late on a Monday or something like that would work great.
Not yeah,
Late
late
for
on a
me.
Monday for you wouldn't work for me, unless you mean
Yeah, especially well, on New York, yeah, that's only what is that? That's only 6
6.
hours apart. That wouldn't work. You're right. Um, okay,
Great. So a weekend, once a month, get together.
get together.
Fantastic. So that's what I want to talk about now. I kind of want to. So I'm eager to. Well, what thoughts did you have coming into this conversation today?
Wait, hold on. Before we do that, I wanna open up the stuff you sent me because I haven't done that yet.
Have had about 5 beers in about a month. So
Wow.
yeah, the alcoholism didn't take. It didn't. I should definitely be predisposed to addiction. I've got my cigarettes, but the alcohol did not take.
Okay, I have the IT theory overview.
Well, it theory. So what are you, a
IT
noob?
theory, I know that. And then what you mentioned something else that I should have open. Um,
You have it theory overview. Oh, and it theory vocabulary, which is a Google Slides thing.
okay. Yep.
Brills.
Cool. Cool.
Great. Let me. So, what thoughts did you have coming into today? Where you been
Hon
at?
honestly, not a whole lot. Um, I mostly wanna hear what you're up to and hear what you're thinking about and what I should be thinking about. Um, but I can't say I'm coming in with anything firm.
And that's okay. And maybe I can get something not firm out of you. So, what have we been doing so far? We've known each other for about 6 months. What's going
Sure.
on? Get me caught up.
Um, we've talked about our shared, well, I don't think at first shared, I think you had you had a very firm, understanding and way of explaining kind of cognition, um, and that really struck a chord with me, and I think actually I wouldn't have said it before, but it brought out a lot of my intuitions, um, and I think you were excited that it brought out a lot of my intuitions, and I was excited that you had such a kind of robust, worked out theory of what the mind is and how we think and whatnot. Um, so there was that, and so we've talked a lot about that and kind of the different biases that we all have, and they're not even and the whole point is they're not even biases, they're just they're just in there. It's all the same. It's not like one bad, it's not a weed in a perfect brain, it's just the brain. Um, and then so that I think that was the bulk of what we talked about in Europe, and then since I've come back, we talked to Fred and we tried to kind of almost use well, with the how to change your mind stuff. So we tried to kind of use that on him, somewhat unsuccessfully, but that was
We
entertaining.
speculate about how it could be maybe. I don't know that
But
I
we
would say
didn't
maybe
we
try.
didn't we didn't we didn't try it we didn't actually go in and employ it was more we were more in the question asking phase, and I don't think we got out of that, but that was fun. And then yeah, and then looking at your I think and then most recently, we looked at, like, the taxonomy of the what was it? Like, the taxonomy of biases, and you were upset at this guy's taxonomy of biases, um, and the it theory of
Remember,
vocabulary.
what notions do you have about why I was upset?
I'm trying to remember.
So on the taxonomy, it had
Yeah.
categories, times when like reasoning is influenced by instincts or natural tendencies or things like that. And there was a part of the taxonomy that was for like psychological stuff, and the other was the other kind of errors, non-cognitive errors.
Yeah, I think there was a part where it's like there was one little section that was like I don't remember, but I remember you saying, like, "It's all that." Like,
Yeah,
it's
it
all
kept each subsection in one particular line just restated a thing that the brain would do, but that isn't good, or that is a thing that the brain would be inclined to do, but that isn't reasonable. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So big picture. Well, that's what I was going to say today. I don't. I was going to object when you said I had a robust understanding, but then the way you said it, it actually was not objectionable, and I'll take it. Uh, but what I had when I met you was a lot of the ingredients, and even then, yeah, it was a kind of a, I guess, a robust understanding. And I remember I said to you, so I want to transmit this to you so that then we can talk about the new stuff, the applications of this stuff.
okay,
You know, for instance, the vocabulary, right? Because the English language is based on flawed paradigm. Uh,
sure.
and so we need new vocabulary, and I can't really make that in a vacuum. So I want to be able to run those by you, see how useful those different ones are, and uh, and hopefully you'll find that you find it difficult to talk to people but the mind who don't know the vocabulary. Uh, I mean, not too difficult, hopefully, but you know, a little bit. Um, so that's I think where I was sort of leaving off in Madrid. I want to give you this understanding, and then the things that have followed from this understanding are what I want to do next. So since then, we talked about a few books. You read How Minds Change, which is part of sort of more of the application side, but the fundamental understanding theory side. Did you do Thinking Fast and Slow?
Okay, I did maybe 30% of it.
Okay.
So I liked it and the ideas were interesting. It was a little frustrating how, like, it moved very slowly, and he just kind of drew out these examples over and over again, and it's like,
Very
"Okay,
thorough. He's
I
covering
get
his
it."
whole career. Yeah.
Yeah, like, it was a little too like, I don't know, it read a little too easily. I wanted it to be a little denser, if that made sense.
Yeah.
Uh, so
But you
yeah.
make it denser then. Skip bits.
Yeah, that's
If
fair.
it's written so that it can be and was a New York Times bestseller,
Yes,
if you're
yes.
studying philosophy, psychology, and IT, skip bits.
Yeah, yeah. No, fair.
What about the believing brain or you are not so smart or the art of thinking clearly?
No, I haven't read those. The one that it's cute well, the one that's queued up that I'm excited about that you recommended was oh my god, what's it called? I have it right here. Um, maybe I packed it. I don't know, the philosophy one.
The philosophy one.
Consciousness something. Oh,
Oh, A
brief
Brief
tour of
Tour of
human.
Human Consciousness.
Yeah, that's.
Oh my God, seeing that title, that cover page. Wow. Fantastic.
So I'm
Great.
excited. I'm excited about that one.
I'm excited about that. Okay, excellent. So, but the things that you have read and the intuitions that you've
Mhm.
had and the explanations that I gave all take you to a certain credence level. It's kind of satisfactory that this importantly different paradigm is important
Yeah,
and is sort of the future. We're talking about fundamentally stated the difference between brains doing things and brains knowing how they do things. And then taking it to the next level with what I'm going to talk to you about Alaris, it's about brains doing things based on how brains do things. Okay. So we've got little bits of that, right, in nutrition and certain biohacking and stuff that's been emerging. But we're talking about now fundamental communication and self perception. So basically, what I was going to say is that it theory, I didn't figure out it theory. I put some words to what had been figured out between Darwin, finest research on finest gauge, and what we've learned from fMRI technology about, you know, and go back to basic cell neuron structure. People, we knew a whole bunch of pieces, billions, each one an input output thing, or you can think of the input output as the synapse between them. Oh, that was another thing. Where are you at with your brain biology?
I understand that there are little neurons and that they have kind of like weights and that they receive electrical signals and fire electrical signals and they're wired in different configurations where those that can kind of there can be this chain of firings and
And
that
that's
there's
also
different.
what gives them their weights in part, how they're arranged in, so
Yeah,
how consequential they are. But then, yeah, they also have weights, I guess, in the sense of, well, yeah, no, how
the
many
thresh
connections.
and there's also like I think there's like a threshold too, like how much of an electrical signal does it need to fire?
So, all
Um,
right, so let me just clean that up real
yeah, please
quick.
do. Please do.
So you've got the neuron. All electrical activity is within the neuron. Okay, so it
Okay.
doesn't send an electrical signal; it sends a chemical signal.
Yes. Okay.
So,
My
on
dog wants
the
to get in. Come here. There she is.
hello, remind me of her
This is
name.
this is Boban.
Oh, have I not met her?
I don't know if you have.
Okay,
Boban, say hi.
I don't think I have. No.
He's a little sleepy. Okay, go ahead.
Or he. Okay.
Well, it's she,
Uh,
but she's named Boban. It's confusing.
is Boban like the athlete?
Boban like the athlete.
What is
Yeah.
he? Croatian? No, what was it? What is
He's
he?
Serbian. Yeah.
Serbian.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Now I'm all cleared up. Okay, because I had no gender associations with Boban. Okay, so receiving end, I've got these receptors, and if a neurotransmitter sent from another cell, who's just across the street there, if it lands in my receptor, that receptor is going to change my membranes and stuff such that I'm letting in certain ions, which is changing the uh, whatever it's called, the electricity of the cell, whatever. And then that causes a chain reaction along the cell. So that polarization causes a reaction along the cell till it gets to my feet, the end of the cell, where I'm storing little chemicals. And so if it's made it there, then I release those chemicals into the receptors of the next cell. Okay, so the important principle is that it's all or nothing, meaning that I need to break this threshold in order for that electrical propagation to happen. So on this receiving end, maybe a neurotransmitter locks in here on this receptor. Some calcium ions come in, which are positive, right? And so it's raising the negative charge resting potential of the cell, but it might not raise it enough for where the whole chain reaction happens. But if I get this receptor activated and then immediately after activated and then immediately after activated, that's what we call temporal summation. That's 3 times, and that's going to be enough for the thing. Or we have spatial summation. If I get a neurotransmitter stuck here, here, and here, and all these ion channels are opening, then that's going to be enough to beat the threshold. Okay. And then, so it's all or nothing. Either you beat the threshold or you don't. So there's no just sending a little message. If I get triggered, then I speak. But if I just get a little tickled but not fully triggered, then I don't speak, and that's it. Signal dies there. Okay.
Well, okay, wait. Here's a
Yeah.
here's a question. Is there is there a version of that? So I know it's all or nothing if you speak or not, but you could speak, or you could have the thought, or you could
Oh,
some
no, no, I
actually
wasn't
have.
talking about the person literally speaking. I was imagining myself as the neuron. Either
Oh,
I send a message or I and rest stay silent.
I understand. I understand. I thought you were saying what has to happen in the brain for. Okay. Okay.
No, so absolutely, and that's, absolutely. So, for instance, in my vocabulary, to pre-liver is when an it activates, but it doesn't make it to speaking, but it makes it to awareness, but not necessarily. It doesn't necessarily come out. Now, of course, there's things that come out that don't make it to awareness until it's heard again, and some things come out, and I swear people still don't hear what they're saying.
Yeah.
But okay. So all right, so great. So all right, really, really, really quickly, just to tease you a little bit. So I've come up with this thing I call a K score. And it's really, you don't have to understand it. It's really just to, all right. And then what is it? Let's go letters on this side. A, B, C, D, E. No, there's no E. F, G, H. Oh, there's no A either. Oops. I, J, L, whatever. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. This is a coordinate system. Okay. All right, so imagine they're perpendicular, right? And you can imagine this is the y and this is the x-axis. Now, I think it's more visually pleasing to just turn it, okay? Anyway, this is what I call the k-axis, and this is how many, anyway, this is what I call the k-axis, this is the z-axis, okay? And then according to its k value and z value, which I'm going to explain in a moment, you plot a point. So its k value is a, and its z value is 1, so we're at a1. And then in the other quadrant, it's like at let's say a G7 right there. Okay. Now this is totally hypothetical, but an imagining of a way to describe the weight of an it in the sit stem. So it measures 4 things, right? You have 2 quadrants, each one has 2 coordinates, right? So it measures 4 things: the k value on this side and the k value on this side, the z value. Now k is kit. It basically means like connected. So to how many other its, so if you imagine it biologically, take a neuron, to how many other neurons is this neuron connected? So if it runs, how many neurons is it going to send a signal to?
Okay.
So that's number of connected neurons. Now, when a neuron is connected to another neuron or to other neurons, it varies how connected it is. So you can also take average number of connections. And then you can specify, you can say to this set of neurons, it's connected to all these neurons here. What's the average number of connections? And that'll tell you how influential the neuron is. The it theory is meant to be as representative of the actual biology as possible. So same thing for an it. So so the further away from the origin, the higher the value. So we've said that kit, it's a high kit, which means it's connected to many neurons. High zit, which means it has a high number of connections to each of these neurons on average. And this is on the reception side. On the antilivery side, we say in my vocabulary. When a neuron happens, it happened because everything that happened before it happened. And then
Mhm.
all of that's the input. And then when it executes, you can say it has some probabilistic outcome, assuming normal circumstances or whatever. If it runs, here are the chains that it's going to activate. So that's why we have the two quadrants. We have the input, the antilivery side, and the output, the eclivery side, or the afferent and the efferent, direction of information. And so then you have a score for an it. So then you have something like an A1 G7 it. Well, there's no A because that's confusing because there's a quadrant called A. So I messed that up, but whatever. Supposing that there was an A, you would have an A1 G7 it, which means A1 is very far from the origin on the input side, meaning that it is very sensitive.
Yeah.
It's very easy to trigger that it. However, you see it's closer to the origin on the eclivery side, on the output. And so that might mean that it's efferent, it doesn't have as much efferent intensity or as many efferent signals going out. So although it may be very sensitive, it may not end up being very influential.
So G is negatively correlated to the influence of the neuron. Am I getting that right, or am I getting that
No.
backwards?
Well, you said G, but you don't mean G, so I'm trying to figure out what you do mean. You mean the Z,
Wait, I'm sorry. I thought there were 3 axes. Are there only 2?
two axes,
Oh, oh, whoa. Why
because I went like
the
this.
balloons that came on your screen?
Yeah, because I went like this.
That's really funny.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm sorry. So the A is how sensitive it is or how
No,
likely it
no,
is
no,
to
no,
be.
no. Hold on. You know how on a normal coordinate system you have numbers on the
Yeah.
x-axis and the y-axis? I wanted it to be more readable, so I put letters on one axis and numbers on the other
Oh,
axis.
oh, okay. I misunderstood that. So, sorry, what are the names of the axes then?
The the k-axis, and the z-axis, the z-axis. So we have k going down here, it's lettered, and then we have z going down here, it's numbered.
Okay, I understand. I understand. So they're both positively correlated to the influence.
Yeah,
So
the more
A,
connections, it's a positive correlation. The more connections, the more influence on the outgoing side, and on the incoming side, the more connections, the more sensitivity.
okay, and K is the connections on the incoming side, and
K is the
then
connection, the number of neurons the number of it's connected to, and zit is the strength of the connection
okay, okay,
on the
got it.
number
I'm
of
there.
connections to the neuron it's connected to.
I'm there. Okay.
So this, if it's A5 or whatever this is, then it has a high kit, it's connected to many neurons, but it doesn't have very strong connections to those neurons.
Mhm.
There may be many situations in which there is some likelihood of it being activated, but still the likelihood is fairly low.
Sure.
Okay, so anyway, that's just a little teaser. Okay, anyway, but there's more important stuff to talk about. Um, um, I have been reading some fantastic books recently. The Self Illusion, write these down, please. The Self Illusion,
Wait, not ready, not ready. Self-illusion.
subtitle How the Social Brain Creates Identity, author Bruce Hood,
Yep.
No Self, No Problem,
Okay.
Subtitle: How Neuropsychology is Catching Up to Buddhism. I guess you don't have to write that, but just write Neuropsychology Buddhism. Author: Chris Niebauer. N-I-E Bauer.
How do you spell Ballard?
Bauer.
Oh, Bauer.
B-A-U-E-R.
Bauer. Okay.
Now, the best one. Oh, wait, one more. And so those two I just finished because I've been using this Kindle, doing audiobooks for two, so it's, whoa, just blowing through the reading.
Yeah.
Donald Hoffman is the author. The title is The Case Against Reality: How Evolution hides the truth from our eyes, or hid the truth from our eyes. And then finally, the one that I am just, whoa. I'm still not drinking, but it is overwhelmingly fantastic. And I'm dealing with that with hash alone. Is
Mhm.
I'm Being Certain, Feeling You're Right Even When You're Not, by Dr. Robert Burton, a neurologist.
That sounds very similar, or it sounds like it has a similar theme to How to Change Your Mind, like when that section where they talk about the strength of beliefs and how we can is that
Strength of
true?
the
And
what?
in How to Change Your Mind, there was a section that talked about we could how we could have this truth feeling, and we all
Yes.
think that yeah,
The feeling of knowing. Oh, okay, yes, exactly. So Burton goes really into depth on that. It's really,
that
really
was
cool.
interesting. Okay.
Yes. Fantastic. And also, I often remember the title of that book that way. And then I remind myself that David McRaney, I attribute it to him, the title decision, did a really good job of, instead of calling it How to Change Minds or How Your Mind Change, what'd you say? Whatever you said. How Minds Change. Oh, no. What you said is not what I typically think that I need to correct. I usually think how to change minds, but no, how minds
How
change.
minds change. Yeah.
Okay, so now with the fundamentals of it theory, the thing I really want to work on you with, because I think that
Yeah.
it's fine to be able to say someone is biased, well, it's meaningless, but it's fine to say someone has made a cognitive error or whatever. What was the cognitive error? And you only know you found it if you can draw a map of it interacting with the other its that could make sense for our evolution, that we could evolve with that stream. So that's
Yeah.
a really, really fun activity, I think. Like, can you picture it? Do you know what I'm saying here?
Yeah,
Can you picture it?
I think we've done this exercise before.
So what we did was what I'm thinking now that we did is that we
Yeah.
formulated um, mental errors as if-then statements. In this
Yeah.
case, I do think judge this. That's
Sure.
not quite what I'm talking about. I'm
Okay, explain.
talking about a schematic of how much more time do we have?
I have mm, when would I have to leave for that? I have a hard stop at like 12:30.
You're in New York. So what is that, another hour?
I'm not in I oh yeah, not sorry, not I'm not in New York yet, but yeah, another a full hour.
Awesome. All right. All right.
Yeah.
Let's get up on the whiteboard real quick.
Let's do it.
Um all right. I'm going to switch. No, I don't need the big whiteboard. I'll use this. Okay. I still need to get my markers. It's a little bit of a messy board, so get used to this. This is your baseline.
That's okay. Yeah.
Brain, learn to ignore all of this. Okay, great. Programmed. Right. Yes, programmed. Right. Okay. I've made it too complicated. Let's stop there then. Hopefully I have enough. All right. All right. Picture this while I continue to work on it. So, what I'm preparing is the map it is going to go here. Okay. This is the in livery. This is the X livery. So the in livery, the things that the system observes. The X livery, the behavior of the speech. All right. Were you able to read that?
Tall, black, glasses, loud.
Yeah. All right. So suppose this is a hiring manager sit stem. Now the sit stem is the arrangement of the its. And then the activity, just make it a little fancy because it's mental activity. The activity is the activity of the its. So anyway, so this is, we're going to look at the a glimpse of the hiring manager's activity. Okay, so before it theory, people thought that well, this isn't gonna fucking matter unless it's a Nazi. That's not gonna matter. The fact that he's tall isn't gonna matter. His volume isn't gonna matter. His glasses aren't gonna matter. It's gonna be this detail on his resume and this detail on his resume are gonna go through the rational processing system and produce a hire or don't hire.
Yeah.
But a map it, and this has been the major problem with logicians and argument, all that stuff, is that they think they were reasonable. They're not looking at all the elements. Okay, so this tall, that's going to slap a halo effect. So we're going to call that it halo. So it halo is going to slap pos eval.
Yep. I remember the halo.
The fact that he's black is going to slap in group out group. Okay. Which is going to pulse positive evaluation. The fact that he's wearing glasses, some association with intelligence and glasses, call it glasses, and that's going to go positive evaluation. And this is going to go it wary. It's going to say, shut the fuck up. Okay, the fact that it's loud, something about confidence, which is going to go, yeah, hell yeah, positive evaluation. But also, about loudness, something about primitiveness. Let's just say that. Okay. Then that positive evaluation, let's say it makes it through. And the wariness, and plus some detail from his resume come here to this summit, which produces this behavior. Okay. All right, so basically what you're doing is you're doing the if-then, the hypothetical syllogism, the psychological hypothetical syllogism that took place. So where it goes from if tall through the halo effect, then other positive attributes, for instance, slapping the positive evaluation. Here we have if black, then member of outgroup. And if member of outgroup, there are ones, intermediate ones, but ultimately it's going and it's pulsing this, right? So here we have an excitatory, here we have an inhibitory. Okay, it in group out group, inhibits positive evaluation and slaps the wariness or whatever. And you've got an interaction of all these, and then of course if you know the K score, I mean we're moving into really stuff that but if you throw in the K score, then you can estimate some probability that knowing a person's it's from experimentation, testing the person, a personality test basically,
Yeah.
knowing the condition that they're in, and but through the personality test, you also are able to establish K score. How sensitive is their in-group out-group distinction? How influential is it
Yeah.
to other, whatever. So this is a map it, and this is
Yeah.
something that I'm very excited about developing. And I think
Yeah.
it's a kind of a cool puzzle activity to sort of go into all the different fallacies and biases and things that we know, and then also to identify the actually logical mechanisms, and how they're all interacting here and developing a notation system for it. Because then theoretically, what you can do is, if you disagree with someone's ex livery, you say, hey, look, let's say the person's open-minded, first of all. Then you can present to them, here's what I think happened in there. And if they're open-minded, if they have critical recognition, which they've acquired from it theory, then they go, oh, okay, that's good to know. I'm going to take that less seriously now, for instance. Alternatively, it's kind of a proof. It's kind of circumstantial, but it's kind of like, look, we know that all humans have this in-group out-group halo. We know that you had received indications of his out-group status. So this is not an impossible processing event, and worth fucking considering.
Yeah.
So
That's
I'm
neat.
very excited about that. What'd you say?
I said that's neat. I like it.
That is neat, right? Okay, but that's not what I kind of got stuck on it. Kind of got a little scared. Um, so I turned my attention to the application of Eris. Empiricism, reason, imagination, and skepticism, as I've said in the signature of my email for like 10 years,
Sure.
these are the gears of the progress of humanity. Plus a bit of courage and something else, I say. So that means that the application of these things is humanity progressing. Well, one great way for humanity to progress would be as we learned things, for humanity to learn things. And as we approach truth or improve our relationship with truth, for that to spread, for everybody's relationship to truth to be improved, because truth we have in common. And, we may have different gods and all that bullshit, but truth we have in common. So we can agree on that common ground, then should be a better world.
Yeah.
So what does that look like? All right, so here's what I've got. You know what a dialectic is?
No.
All right. I'm going to say some stuff that you very well know and intuitively, but I think it's just I need to say it to get to.
Yeah.
All right. So debate or arguing sucks. People are like, oh, this is true. I'm going to impose this. I'm going to show them that this is true. They're not really like working together to find truth.
Yeah.
Say, find my errors. Let me help you find yours and let's find this together. Okay. Now, before I named myself Eris, some fucker named that style of interaction eristic interaction. Okay? That fucker and his stupid term eristic will be forgotten. The opposite of eristic is dialectic, and that's where we are trying to pool our information and our interpretations in order to work together to find resolution.
Okay.
Okay. So you can also call that erisic, because, to avoid any confusion. Anyway, so that's erisic dialectics. Eristic, don't ever think about that word again. It's just stupid debating. What's important is associating eris with dialectics. So I want to invent a system somehow, I couldn't conceive of it, but something that where two people could interact and where we could like agree on errors, where we could keep track of kind of talking points and reasons and make some progress in the fucking conversation. Also, my whole life I've been very frustrated by not knowing who I can trust, by people telling me that things are true and me not having the feeling of knowing that they're true, but also not having the feeling of knowing about anything that I think. And so I want to like listen to them and just believe them, but some people are saying some really crazy shit. And so I was like, how do I evaluate what someone says and know whether I should listen to it or not? Because I'm lucky, because unlike most humans, I don't already know whether or not I should listen to it. Right? I don't have that super strong mechanism of that sounds stupid. I hate that. Get that the fuck out of here. It can't possibly be true.
Yeah.
Okay. So I came up with this taking dialectic and aorist, putting it together, dialysis. And the imagery, that's the emphasis is like that to remind us of dialysis, because it's like kind of putting our interpretive mechanisms and the information we have through kind of the cleaning process that we can be for one another. Okay. But what about a way for me to, okay, so that's, I haven't invented how to do it, I just named it. But so that would be, that's the placeholder for some way for two people to exchange about something. But how do I, individual, I'm watching on Instagram, someone is making some claim, and I want to know, should I be affected by this? Because I am already affected by it. Okay, so that's monalaris. Okay, so we have monalaris, dialaris, and then wealaris. Wealaris can be one of two things. It's either the spectating of a debate, or it can be a dialaris, whatever. But anyway, it's the public spectating. So like David McRaney said, we're really good at arguing our point, not so great at seeing truth. But that's kind of a feature of our evolution. We let two people argue, being really both really good at making their points, and then we get all the information and we can make a decision even if they
Yeah, I
just
like
want
that
to
point.
fight.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a form of a wealaris. So a wealaris is where the audience has critical recognition, first of all, so they know it theory, they know how they work, they have some sense of how they receive information, and then they responsibly, with critical recognition, observe this debate and learn from it. The other wealaris is some scientists have learned something and they want to disseminate this information to the public. So there are there are going to be wealaris techniques for how that's disseminated, knowing how minds work and so on, and also still being humble and so on. And then there will be wealaris techniques on the reception side, so that people can learn things that are even counterintuitive. Okay, so then recently I've been working on, so let's, the monalaris is obviously the easiest to develop. What do? You see a claim, some kind of argument supposedly made, what do you do with it? And so I've been looking at, there's a book, Attacking Faulty Reasoning, where a guy talks a lot about, it's great. Anyway, I haven't read it, but I've been looking at that. I haven't made much progress. It's all very obvious stuff. Step number one, write what I call the ESSIC, which is the question or the point of contention. Write the KES, which is the claim regarding the ESSIC. It does not have to be written as an if-then. So you write this KES. Then you write all the little components, all the things that were stated, which I call the SECs. So you take all the different SECs. Okay. So he made some comment about the kids on the college campus that they don't get invited to any parties. That's why they're protesting for Palestine. All right, you take all of these little things. Okay, you take all of these SECs. Okay. Maybe there's some filtering process at this point. I don't know. Now you assemble the SECs according to your best, a good faith effort interpretation. You assemble the SECs into if-then statements to form some kind of an argument. So he's saying if blank is true, then blank is true. And if blank is true, that ultimately leads to his KES being true. I think all arguments can be done as if-then. I think that every line, I think that arguments can be reformatted where instead of these premises where you just declare something, even when you declare something, you basically you have to put like some axiom like if observed, then it is, it is true that the leaves fall in the fall. You know.
Yeah.
Anyway, so everything has to be an if then, and then what you do is now System 2 can handle looking at like a single sentence. Can't handle just like seeing a 30-second video with a whole bunch of shit said and assessing it. But if you've written out everything said like as a sec, you've assembled the secs in if then, everything that is the if part, pair it with its then part, and you're trying, of course, to be as good faith as possible. Then at this point, you look out. Do you recognize any mallets? Oh, wait a minute. It says this guy keeps talking about the guy's origins when talking about that we shouldn't trust him. If origins are different, then untrustworthy, very common mallet.
Yeah.
So that's what's happening there. So then we have certain terminology for saying, like, all right, so that's something that we're going to strike. And then once you've struck some things that are mallets, you're now looking for, with the remaining things, you're now, or no, before this, you've looked at relevance, acceptability, and sufficiency. Yeah, and anyway, and so I borrowed some stuff from Dahmer, such as those three things. And you're also looking at, there are 8 forms of valid inference: modus ponens, modus tollens, hypothetical syllogism, simplification, conjunction, etc. And so, so once someone learns these things, it's just not obviously easy, but I just fucking hate how humans think they're having conversations now. Okay, you're having conversations. You are not discussing anything. You are not having deep conversations if you haven't figured out a notation system and haven't pulled out pen and paper and aren't keeping track of the statements and their relationships. All you're doing is throwing words at each other. Is that your experience? Do you feel like you've had lots of great not debates, but like debates, but like good ones where it was like, oh, and then blah blah.
Wait, oh, what type good debates where you're not just throwing words together?
Yeah,
That's what
we're
you're
not
asking about?
words aren't just being thrown together and out at the other person.
Sometimes, but probably the
I don't
minority.
even believe you. I don't even believe you because I don't think I've ever really had that in a disagreement where you're saying, all right, so then hold on, you had this, and this as evidence. I mean, it's too hard for the human brain. But
Yeah.
all humans think that, but you know that it's the minority at least.
Yeah, no, it definitely is. And it's really with and when I think about it, it's with, like, one friend that I have is all the instances where that pops up. So I hear what you're saying.
So I have led a lonely existence because I don't think I have that friend where I have someone where we can disagree with. And are you talking about pen and paper? You're not talking about pen and paper.
As the friend?
No, using pen and paper for as a tool in the
Oh, no,
conversation.
no.
So then you're not really doing anything. I don't believe that your brain is that good where you're able to your
Fair.
working memory is that good that you're able to keep track different pieces of evidence, their respective weights, the things that they're relevant to,
No,
and
not
the
to that
weights of
level.
those things
Not
themselves.
to that level of detail, no.
No way, no way. But in order to actually exchange, you would need to. I think you're just, yeah, right?
Yeah. No, I hear what you're saying.
Great. So that's what I'm working on now, developing a Manalaris. Developing a technique of Manalaris, um, and trying it out. So you are all caught up on the work and on the understanding now. So the last thing then is the future. Um, so I read this amazing article, and I've mentioned it to you before, called Bounded Rationality, and this explains everything. Please read that. It's like 3 pages.
Okay. Wait, let me
And
have
I
that.
just found out that I was a woman. And so, well, because of my sexist its, I suddenly felt emboldened. Oh my gosh, I should contact her and talk to her about it theory. And also, she looks like an auntie I had as a kid. But I would really love to develop something with you where I know that I'm not being crazy, that can be presented to someone like Benaji or like the neurologist that I'm reading now, Burton.
Sure.
Kahneman's dead, Dennett's dead, or Hood, who's in Bristol. And so if I want to leave Europe or the EU, go hang out in England for a bit, I can go hang out with this guy who did the self illusion, and he's got it figured out. He doesn't realize quite how consciousness is an illusion, but the self, yes. So I would love to for Leo Jacobi and Eris Sil to prepare something, have some kind of a project that can get me in the door.
This is cool.
And
Yeah,
then I'd also love for you to take advantage because you actually, I don't know, what do you want to do with your life? Because if you want to, if an internship with, somebody's useful, Eris has got the ideas, bro. With Leo's greatness, some ideas from Eris that were already nascent there,
sure.
a little watering from Eris, and you're going to be blowing these guys away. Holy shit. You figured that out?
No,
Holy
this is
shit.
cool. This is yeah. No, I like
What do you want to do? I've asked you this before.
with with what do you mean? Like in
To
life?
make money or with your future
Oh,
time?
I don't know. I mean, I want to be happy. And I do believe that some level of like financial security helps with that. I don't think it's as much as people think, and I know you know that. Um, I want to be working on really cool problems with really smart people. Um, and
Bro, why don't
having
you do 2 years with me, bro? 2 years. 6 months. 6 months minimum. That has to be a chapter in your life, a Walden chapter.
yeah,
You don't know nothing until you stepped out of what you know, right?
yeah,
So come live where I just made a friend today who goes into the dumpster at this supermarket here. And I was like, bro, I'm gonna start doing that. Can I sometimes go into your dumpster? He's French. He's yeah, bro, we're gonna dumpster dive, go get lost in the mountains and situations you've never been in and you'll never be in.
yeah,
And I promise you'll get perspective. You won't get true perspective, but you'll get more perspective.
yeah.
Things that
It
things that
sounds
you
like a lot of fun.
tasted through shrooms and intelligence, but haven't been in the situation for all of the it's to fire for it to be, you know,
Sure, sure. Let's
to
start with the
compel
let's
you.
start let's start with the project. But I promise you that sounds like a lot of fun.
Well, it is a lot of fun. Smoke some hash, do some shrooms. When I go for the whiskey in the morning, you'll say, Eris, come on, buddy. You know you don't need it. I'll say, you're right, Leo. Um, and then you write a book about it, bro. You write a book about those 2 years. Or those 10 years, or
From
whatever you said
It
you
went
wanted.
from 6 months to 2 years.
Yeah, those 20 years, whatever you said.
Okay,
Okay.
let's talk about this. So what do you okay, I guess, like, I have a few questions. Um, One is, you've given me 2 examples. Wait, okay, so the monalysis is
Okay, hold on, write it down. M-O-N,
I will write it down, 1 second. Yeah,
M-O-N-A-L, like for the in Arabic, because it's the application of eris, E-R-I-S. M-O-N-A-L-E-R-I-S.
okay,
Emphasis on al. Manalaris.
okay, and that's when you draw so that and that I don't know what to call it, tree structure, diagram, whatever that you
That's the
drew.
map it. That's an it
Okay,
map. I think map it sounds better.
okay. What is the pen to paper of Monalaris look like?
What is the pentapaper?
Like, what do
Oh,
you
pen to
so
paper.
yeah, yeah.
I don't know.
Connecting the
Some things.
connecting the if-thens?
So, so I use some sample arguments. Yeah, and there was this cool graphical idea I had of connecting the if-thens where, so, right, all right, maybe this won't stick, but the if is bet. You know Hebrew.
No.
Okay. Do you know any of? All right. Anyway, well, the one
I
character.
know the alpha. I know. I
You
I
know
know
the
like
alphabet. Okay.
kinda.
So
Yeah.
there's bet and tav. Okay.
Yeah.
Those are the symbols for if and then. Okay. So sometimes I refer to it as the bet and the tav. And what would be cool is to have the bet and the tav lined up when you're doing a manalaris. So each time you establish a thing, so each time you have to like tav it. You have to establish it. It has to have its own bet. And then, so you have like, bet, blah, 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 uh, tav, blah, blah. And then each of, so this is what I call a betav, or it would be one line of an argument. If
Yeah.
this, then this. Okay. Now, this is an example of a sec. This sec is a bet. This sec is a
Yeah.
tav, right? So everything you had heard them say, you'd list them out. Now you're arranging them, right? Okay. So and then what would be cool, and then you can go, so and then you label each sec A, B, and then you go if B, then C, and so I imagine there could be like a cool way to sort of graphically look at it, like how we look at programming with indentations, so you see things that follow. So I do think
Sure.
there's a sort of a graphical visual component to a Manalaris or just to an argument, a formal reconstruction that you don't get with formal reconstructions I've seen. And that's
Okay.
because you put everything as a batav.
Okay. What do you so the how I'm understanding is the Mapit and the Manalaris are two very different.
Two very different things.
Which is the thing that you were talking about proposing to these cool authors and
Neither.
developing?
Either.
Okay. Okay.
The map it is if you take this, because see, these are what I call logits. They're not necessarily psychological events. They're things that are meant to be logical, right? So how we got to our conclusion, never mind that. When we're actually constructing an argument, we want it to be logical, right? So these are going to be logits, so logical if-thens, not psychological ones. Now, some of these, though, when you're doing a Manalaris, you will see that the argument this person seems to be making is this very obvious psychological mechanism of if outgroup, then bad. Now, then you would take this, let's say this is if outgroup, then bad, right? So the it symbol I'm going to draw, oops, the it symbol, and then you could draw a map of how that is interacting with the other its. So yeah, you could do a map it of a so you when you're doing so a Manalaris is a means of evaluating a conversation. Part of evaluate or an argument. Part of evaluating is going to be reconstructing it. Fuck. And yeah, you can do say, all right, well let me look at what did this look like? How are these lines interacting with each other? Oh yeah, this line was active. This is where this line came from. It came from this line. It's not established because it's not logical, but this would trigger that. Yeah. So yeah, you could do a map it as part of
Okay, interesting.
this. And it's also a
And
way
where
of showing error, yeah.
okay, and then also where is the best like if I want to see because in the map it depends on right, so the map is if I'm understanding correctly is really just is is formalizing system 1 thinking and really like no.
The whole system. Whether or not, I mean, so the distinction between system, I was confusing with conscious and unconscious, but also conscious and unconscious. Whether you experience the thought event or not, it can be drawn in the system. Uh,
Right.
as far as system one, system two, the difference between system one and system two, they exist along a spectrum. System one A is less engagement with the information or with other mechanisms. System two is after system one's happened, it's comparing different things, it's engaged, right? It's well connected. Second thing is time. So first thing is engagement, second thing is time. System one, when there's a sense of urgency, knows that its job, and system two knows to shut up because you need more time for all these connections to be activated and for there to be results. So it's exist on a high on a spectrum of engagement and a spectrum of the time required for them or the amount of sort of uh, the lack of urgency you need to feel in order for a system to engage. So I call those one its and two its, and
Yeah,
surely there would be a way to in the map it say, oh yeah, this is that one it, this is that one it, this is that one it, but here's a two it, which we consider a two it because it's cortical, because it only runs if the person doesn't feel rushed, and because it's a sum of like all these other different ones, and it's a very nuanced sort of yeah, it's very
interesting.
nuanced sum.
So in that first example with, like, the tall black glasses, loud one, would there be some line coming from somewhere like, "Let's look at his resume and not consider any of these factors." Like, is that part of your map it or no? Because to me, that
Yes
seems like
and no.
yeah,
So yeah, so that was a totally incomplete, and it was a focused glimpse where I was only looking at
sure,
the things where mallets would be involved. But
sure,
among the in livery things are aspects of the resume, and that's all interacting. So, for instance, I got a resume that he did exceptionally well academically in high school. In college, he played sports and did pretty well. Now, let's see what my outgroup bias has to say about what I do with that. Maybe the outgroup comes in and says, "Oh, so not so great in college then, huh, academically?" Or if he's a member of the in group, if you were white, "Oh, very good in high school, and we know that he can do it, but he was so busy and committed to that sport, and that's why his grades were, but they're still pretty good. They're not as good as our other applicants, but not all our other applicants were football stars or whatever,
yeah,
right?" So that's how those things interact. So yeah, you have what are called yits, which are not interpretive mechanisms, but pieces of knowledge. And then we have what are called gits, which are values. So you could also, in a good sit stem, in a sit stem like yours, for instance, hopefully there's a git that really devalues that in-group out-group thing. So even though that in-group out-group is active, there is another git that takes some compensating measures that sort of and that's why sometimes you know people are super left wing, they can't see any evil in in the out group, in the members of the out group. For them, they're all saints because there is a git, a value mechanism, a value it, which would have to be phrased axiomatically like if felt, then this is bad, and
yeah,
then so then that's going to come in and consult. So all of those things are interacting, yeah.
yeah. Cool. Okay. So yeah, I feel like in order for this to be like robust enough and for there to be and like expressive enough to lots of different circumstances, it would need to like can you remind like where is the place where I can look at all of these tools, right? So all of the mallets, all of the like that taxonomy that like, I know that you didn't like that one, but something to that extent, like, where is the place that I could look at that has all of that?
Wikipedia is a great list of cognitive biases.
Okay, okay,
Alternatively, yeah, the taxonomy. Look in your email for any link that I sent. Text me if I didn't send it, and I'll put my attention on that. And then, but yeah, or you Google it, and there are lots of websites. There's something called the Decision Lab, which is a pretty cool website and talks a lot about biases. Yeah, to see these different ones.
Okay.
Because there is you do need a certain sort of fluency, a certain ability to
Yeah.
access them.
Yeah.
And
Right.
then,
Does
and
it
then,
have
of
to
course, there
be
are the book recommendations. The Art of Thinking Clearly has 99 of these, and 3 pages per, and where he explains each one. He doesn't know about if then, so he doesn't formulate it that way, but that can be your exercise in each chapter. And then there's your Not So Smart and You're Now Less Dumb, which combined have about 100.
okay. And then so those are mostly the mallets. And then yits aren't there's no taxonomy of yits. If I'm understanding correctly, that's just factual knowledge, correct?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. And then and then and then okay.
And then
And then
gifts are
gits, that's a
valued.
diff yeah, interesting.
By the way, another illusion is that we have a coherent set of gets, and that
Yes.
our gets inform on each other and so on. But no.
Yeah.
Okay. So, all right. No, I'm gonna leave you with that.
Yeah. Okay, that's cool. So yeah, because I think for this to be there's like it has to be within a range. If it's too um how do I put this?
Absolutely. But wait, hold on. Before
Oh,
you fence off certain areas, we haven't even started digging. So you and
that's
I,
true.
let's work together, and then as it becomes fluid, then it'll come up. Okay, so this is what we need more of. It's too general in this sense, blah 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 blah. But I'm still feeling it. I don't really know what it is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's fair.
And I
That's
think
fair.
it'll kind of occur to us the best applications, and then we tailor the tool to that application. I think that'll come to us along the way.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're hesitating because it's
Um
a useful goal.
sorry?
You're hesitating because it's a useful goal for you to have sort of a package
No,
in.
I'm not hesitating. I think that's a good way of approaching it to kind of go for a while before we try to put it in a box.
Yeah.
Uh
So like it theory, I is now in a box. I have what I call the Warsaw illusions, which are it's in that document, the overview. I'd like for you to look that over before we talk next. It's got the Warsaw illusion, all the mistakes we make about the mind. It's got a new list called the Conil concepts, all the replacements, the how the mind actually works, basic concepts that describe it. Um, it's all packaged. I don't know that it's functional because I haven't explained it to a lot of people, unfortunately. But the more that I explain it, that's already something that I think that if we develop that can already be presented. It's a good metaphor for going from a sense of being a rational soul to understanding your mechanisms. I think it's really well packaged. So take a look at that overview. Uh,
yeah.
and then, but this other stuff, map it, and then especially the different Alarist techniques are totally in the speculative theoretical stage. But I need help. I need help for that speculative theoretical stage. It took me years to do it theory on my own, and I want to move a little bit faster.
And help in what sense? Like where do you yeah.
One example of help, a real life tangible image. Uh, all right, Leo. So I have this sample argument about Alice and why we should vote for her for this election. All right, so there's this paragraph. Here, do you have it in the chat? Okay, great. All right, let's see. Let's do the sex. Um, and you know what? Can you put them in bit tabs? I'm gonna put them in bit tabs. Let's compare those. And then once we've done
Wait.
that, talk
Where's
about.
this Alice? I'm sorry, I'm
No,
missing
no,
something.
no. This is we're imagining.
Oh, okay, okay.
We've been in my imagination.
Okay.
Um, and hey, Eris. Okay, what if you're saying that we need to be able to compare the value of each batav? and we need to have some standard of which ones we're going to include and which ones we don't. So what if we have this notation system next to it based on these two principles that blah blah was talking? Yeah, Leo, let's do that. Okay, let me see what that would look like. Oh, blah blah. That's what it looks like.
Yeah.
For the map it's all right. So let's imagine a scenario or find a scenario. We can look at a fucking movie. Take a character in a scene. What are the things that it was exposed to? What were the other things that it was exposed to earlier in the film? What are some mechanisms that we know humans evolved with? And how can we draw a sensical map that goes from the stimuli to his behavior? That's practicing mapping out psychological mechanisms.
Yeah.
You gotta understand, bro. Never before has there existed an element of the mind. We have the element of the brain. It's either the neuron or the synapse, depending on how you look at it. But we don't have an element of the mind. No wonder we're getting confused. Heart, soul, all this stuff. The brain is one thing, and then I must be this other thing. All that nonsense. We have no element. Now we had lobes, but it was clear that it's not like these four lobes are these things that are like doing things. It's more just a
Yeah.
concentration of activity. We now have an element for the mind, the fundamental unit of the mind. Even if not every it is a fundamental unit, because it can be broken up into other its, still, it is the fundamental unit of the mind. If this, then this. And it can be as specific as if H1234 signal, then X5298 signal.
Yeah.
This is major, Leo, and I don't want you to underestimate that.
I'm not
I have to
underestimating.
wonder whether I'm just a crazy person in a camper, but I'm pretty sure this is major, Leo. And we are lucky enough that we are young enough to have been born into all this knowledge about the brain, right? We're
Yes.
locked into this mind stuff. We were born into this knowledge. So there are other graduate students that are realizing this stuff. I'm hoping that I'm especially lucky because I was outside of the system, the perspective that I got. So I'm hoping there aren't hundreds of other undergraduates that whose mentors are about to publish something like it theory. Newton called it bundle theory. He said we're not a single thing; it's a whole bunch of things. We have a fundamental unit of the mind. All of the complete set of illusions that explain how we see ourselves. I'm pretty happy with the set of Conil concepts that replace that. And what's important, look, we didn't do the research. But what is an explanation really? It's based on research. It isn't the research. It's the framework. It's the language. It's the transmission of an understanding. And that's what it theory provides based on the research from the last 200 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it is major. And I hope you have a good enough ego to know that it's possible that you are involved in something major. Because I barely am hanging on to believing in that. So I need someone else to also be believing that.
Yeah.
I've already done all the work. We've got a vocabulary for it theory, about 100 words to talk about these mental processes, such as we talked about the input and the output, but we have specific words for that and blah, blah. And some words harder to translate. So, anyway, but I might also be a crazy person. But hey, if it seems real to you, then you might also be a crazy person. Just have fun with it. And at least we'll have checked this off the list of intellectual possibilities for the future.
No, this sounds cool.
It's not about us having truth. It's about the community, about the future having truth, right?
Yes. Yes. Okay. Two practical notes that are less exciting
Sorry about that monologue. Okay, I'm listening.
than the theory, but I think need to be said. Um, okay, one, I just think realistic, like I want to work on this. I don't think I'm going to be able to devote as much time to this as you can, but I want to structure whatever I do in a way that like I'm being helpful. You know what I mean? So yeah, let's put time down regularly. I want to read, and I want to read stuff that you think is like informative to this. Obviously your documents, that's a given, but also like put a star next to of all the things you recommended to me that I haven't read yet, like put a star next to one of them. Um, and I
What
will
would you want to read about?
Yeah, well, that's a
Is
good
there,
question. Let me actually I take that back. Let me look into all the because you have a lot on my reading list. Let me look into all of those and see which one gets me the most. But I want it to be something that sorry, go ahead. Oh, I want it to be something that like is obviously they're all going to be interesting. They're all, or I assume all of them are going to be interesting, but it would be cool if it had specific application to this stuff that we're talking about. Um,
hold
so
on.
I think
So
I
one
think
thing is about how applicable it is to what we're talking about, how immediately the knowledge can be used.
yeah.
Hold on, let me write this down. Parameters, applicability, relevance, immediate relevance. To suppose the map it and or Manalaris,
Yeah.
or it theory, the more of the foundational stuff.
Yeah, specifically like the map it stuff.
Okay, so map it especially. Okay, all right. So immediate relevance to that and applicability. All right. And then is that the only thing you meant by interesting, or is there captivating as well, and new stuff that whoa, I hadn't thought about it that way.
Wait, sorry. What's your question? For stuff that I want to read?
Yeah, what did you mean by interesting besides that it's has immediate relevance to the task?
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah, like just enjoyable because it's interesting and like, but I have a feeling that basically everything on the list you've given me is that.
Number one, like the bottom of the list would be thinking fast and slow for captivating.
Yeah.
Number one would be a brief tour of human consciousness.
Okay. Cool. Well, that's
We,
I have that one. I'm excited to read
and
that
I
one.
and that also I think has pretty immediate. See, you have to understand. I invented the element of the mind, so they're not going to be able to read about it.
Yes.
You'll be able to read about mallets. You'll be able to read about the interactions of sort of more global mechanisms, but without sort of the context, the framing of these are teams of smaller elements that can be broken down as far as the neuron, or as large as stimulus to behavior.
Yeah.
Um, but split brain stuff is really important for understanding how we're distributed, and Ramachandran does a great job with split brain stuff. Oh, and phantom limb stuff, and the sensory cortex, real estate. Very exciting. So
Yeah.
that's number one, and then number two. It sounds like you're missing a real familiarity with biases. So it
Yeah.
sounds like number two then would have to be one of the three books that lists biases.
So you are not so smart is a good one there. Yeah.
Do it. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Okay, so how I mean how I think this would be like what I would like is like I go off, I'm doing reading, I'm thinking about it very much in context of the Mappets specifically. Um and then I think we meet up in a while and we talk about like we could like work through yeah. I don't know. Who knows what that will look like in whatever in a month. But like
Well, what were you going to
yeah,
propose?
I'm just thinking how I could be the most helpful here because I just know realistically like I'm not this is not something that I'm going to be able to work on every day, you know? But as
And
I'm
not
like
in the immediate future, but we are hoping that you're going to get hooked. I mean, the guys
yeah,
studying at Stanford, like this, basically. I mean, the three fields that intersect
yeah,
at this. So we're hoping that, when after he comes out here for 5 years, that this is gonna be an
No,
everyday.
I see that, and I want to get so no, I
But
see.
no, but yeah, no, but I don't need that. I feel like I keep hearing this concern about
No, no,
being.
no, and it's not. No, I'm just want to clarify. So, like, what this would, there's no concern. There's no concern. I'm kind of I'm voicing my like ideal, um, um, what my ideal kind of participation looks like, and I want to make sure that that is like in line with like something that's going to be helpful and rewarding for you.
And or my expectations. Okay, I'm listening. Paint me
Uh,
this picture of your participation.
Yeah. So like yeah, I want to do reading and as I'm doing that kind of think about it in correspondence to the map its um and and maybe do some practice once. Like I watch a movie like and see, oh, okay, here like let's think about how I don't know, I just watched Finding Nemo. Like what is I mean, I don't think Nemo has as many mallets as what's the dad's name? Marvin, the whatever. But he like you know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
those
absolutely.
kinds of things. And seeing how, okay, how expressive is this structure right now? What is it missing? Where is it like where does it not make sense? Do we need to create
Yeah.
something to make it make sense, or is it just not going to make sense in this area and that's okay and it's for this, you know what I mean? Like things like
Yeah.
that.
We'll discuss
Uh,
that. Good.
huh?
Yeah, very good.
Yeah.
That's what I've got for the next meeting at Jen.
Okay.
We can
Okay.
formalize it theory and then try some methods and maybe try a analysis.
Yeah. Yeah.
So is that
Uh,
good for when we're talking? Because you were talking about doing that by yourself.
Yeah, I want to try doing one of these by myself and send it to you and hear what you know what I mean and or even, maybe even better, we pick one, we both do it independently and we come back and
Yeah,
we
dude.
compare. That
Yeah,
would be
dude.
kind of that would
That'd
be
be great.
interesting because ideally it's so obvious like oh it's the same. Like I think if it's flushed out, hopefully like
I
two clever.
doubt mine will be fleshed out, and I think I'll see yours and I'll go, oh yeah, that should go in mine as
That's what
well. And I think it'll be that
Yeah, and I don't mean the specific map it is fleshed out, but I just the structure of it. Like
Yeah, yeah,
ideally,
yeah.
two smart people can approach the same problem
Right,
and are just going to have identical things. You
right.
know, if it's and the thing is like what I was saying before, like, and I may be jumping ahead. If the balance, and I could go to like 35, but I don't think I could go past that. Um, if it's a balance of like expressive and also structured, if it's too expressive, then two smart people are going to come and do it and get different results, which is probably not ideal, but who knows? Maybe that is ideal. Um, but if it's too structured, I don't think it's going to be expressive enough, and there's just going to be a lot of situations where it's just not going to fit as well as we would like or the creator would like or whatever. So in my mind,
I
that's that's something that's a balance we shouldn't overthink on it right now, but I think
I
that's
don't
going to be
suspect that to map it done by humans would be done by an AI. Okay, it should come out similar. I don't
yeah,
think that humans have the processing power with the hundreds of different mallets. I mean, there are thousands of its, right? And to think of the right ones and figure out how they can explain how you went from stimuli to X livery. That's maybe decades in the future.
sure.
Uh, for that to be developed enough for humans to be able to do something like that. The way I see it now is more of just what can you speculate? What glimpse of the picture can you get? And then so the result isn't so much to know what happened in the person's mind, so much as to know what the possibilities were and how seriously what they should be said should be taken. So it's about giving like a probabilistic evaluation to what they said. Look, I was able to immediately come up with a mallet that of an it that you've demonstrated in many other situations and how it could have taken you from that stimulus to that behavior. That should compel you into thinking that behavior needs to be rethought and we need to look at, if there's other justification for it.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think it can only
Okay,
experimentally actually be ascertained.
okay, I'm convinced. I'm convinced. um
So the
Okay.
more it's you know, the more you can imagine, a scene that gets you a scene of what's going on in the black box.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. I'm convinced. Yeah. Okay, and then the last thing, and this like I hope this doesn't upset you because I don't mean it to be upsetting, but I'm not as sold on the vocabulary as you are. I think I see how it's helpful. I've spent enough time with you to like see the value in parts of it, but in terms of bringing this out to the wider world, I'm worried that a lot of it, no pun intended, a lot of it is more a barrier to
Yeah, sure, things
being,
are complicated. Things are
yeah.
complicated. Yes. But no, no,
Yeah,
you're this is going to be a great balance with you thinking about bringing out to the world, but also know that that can be your role to be thinking about what is too complicated, what is or what isn't useful in the immediate future.
sure.
And then my role is to counterbalance that because we would never do anything if we were, just these
Oh,
capitalist product
I hear
producers.
you.
It
I hear
theory
you.
only came about because of years of goalless thinking.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
so I'm going to counterbalance that role and, and be the reminder, let's just feel this out and see where it goes. And then we
Okay.
both have to take our own roles less seriously than we take them and take seriously the other person's role. So I am
Yes.
going to take seriously when you remind me about, yeah. Okay.
Okay. And yeah, I'm on board with that division. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
that complementariness,
Yes.
that yin
Yes.
yang,
Not
I don't know
division. Yeah.
about
That's a
division.
that's a better word. That's a better word. Yeah.
Okay, all right, very good. Okay, so then shall we put something on the books?
Yeah, let's do it. So,
Free in 45 minutes.
say that again.
Said I'm free in 45 minutes.
What about like the like morning of or morning for me? So what in New York I'd be 6 hours ahead. What about like 3 p.m. on July 13th?
3 p.m. July 13th. Okay, very good. And so, A Brief Tour of Human Conscience is like 10 pages. You think I'll have it done by then?
Yeah, that is short. Yeah, sure.
All right, sweet.
I can commit to that.
Oh,
Oh,
no.
the other thing I've been reading, which is not um it's psychology, but it's not as related to the stuff we've been talking about. But do you know Flow by Csikszentmihalyi? I
Oh, what? No.
think that's how you pronounce his last name. I have it
Okay,
here.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But the book flow on when you enter that state of
On flow states.
concentration.
Yeah. Yeah. I've been reading that. That's neat.
Yeah,
It's
I did.
yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
read about. I'm gonna text you because I read about something related to that. Oh, it was in my different. Oh, it was about right brain consciousness. Okay. Anyway, no, I'm not gonna text you. That'll
Yeah.
be another time. All right. Very good.
Okay, so 3 p.m. European time, which is 9 a.m. Eastern time.
Very good. How long
Awesome.
will we have?
Let's do it. Let's plan on an hour. Let's plan on an hour.
Okay. All right. Excellent. Agenda set, and we can. What's the word? Opposite of convene.
Opposite of convene. Oh, I don't know, but I yeah.
You understand? We can do
Where's
that.
the yes.
All right.
Okay,
See you,
awesome.
buddy.
Okay, this has been a pleasure. Thank you for pestering me.
Every
I'm sorry I'm
time.
not as responsive all the
See ya.
time.
Bye.
But yeah, I'm excited about this. Yeah,
Great.
and we'll be
Awesome.
in touch.
Thanks for renewing my judgment of your excitement.
Yeah. Okay. Fires.
Okay, so
Hey,
hello, brother.
what's happening?
How's it going?
Pretty good.
There you are.
So, pronounce your name so I get it right. I'm
Eris.
Eris.
Yeah, like Harris, but without the H.
Got you. Man, so what's going on in your side of town?
So yeah, I'm in the south of Spain. It's pretty nice. Good weather.
Holy crap. No, I'm in a busted neighborhood down south.
Yeah.
Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I'm pretty sure your view is way better than mine.
Yeah. Right now I'm in a parking lot with some trees. So you're in IT.
Yes, I am.
And is that has that been a lifelong passion?
Actually, yes.
Sweet.
IT is my thing. I'm apparently extremely good with computers when it comes to like
Awesome.
repairs and stuff like that. So yeah, at first I actually went to college. I originally wanted to be a psychologist.
Excellent, dude.
Actually, so I actually wanted to go to college for art. My second choice was psychology,
Yeah.
but then I fell off on computer science because I was just so talented. Where I was like, oh, that's easy. And
Yeah.
looking at me like,
But you also still enjoy it, and that's good too.
oh, no, yeah, that's why I do it. Like,
Yeah.
it's yeah, same thing. So, yeah, I fell into that oddly enough. So that is even from a young kid. So that's what I do.
Yeah, very good. Cool. Cool, cool, cool. Well, all right, well this is my spot. This is what I'm traveling around in. Hold on. Oh, there's Neo.
Oh, that's what I'm working towards now. So you see all of that, but I'm remodeling because I just opened up a physical location for a toy store.
Oh, sweet.
So I am trying to do a grand opening around the 4th of July, but I've been working on that so I can become fat. The IT stuff is how I make money to pretty much do what you do. Like wake up and be like, hey, sunshine and stuff, because Mondays I have to be at IBM, International Business Mechanics, in a meeting that just destroys my soul a little bit.
Okay, yeah. I didn't have the strength for it. I couldn't do it. I knew I had to go an alternative way in college. I knew that it wasn't gonna the nine to the going and finding meaning in something where the meaning isn't coming from inside. I'm not wired for it.
Me neither, but
No, but I mean, I don't mean that like that's normal for you, but the fact that it's hard for you, but you're still able to do a minimum of it to get the things that, you need to survive and stuff, that's really cool.
yeah, yeah. A couple other factors, parents who were just like, what do you mean you want to? If you quit your job, I swear we're gonna quit you. Like you can't do
Yeah.
but not joke either.
I didn't really have that, so I guess I was kind of lucky in that way. Yeah.
But yeah, goofy talk about that's kind of my upbringing. So get like a general idea of my basis. Yeah, my parents were pretty much trying to provide the best standard. So for me, it was instilled like I gotta keep up the visuals, I guess. When they be like, "Hey, what's Chris up to?" They can be like, "Oh, he works for the state, blah blah blah." Or so it was a lot of standards.
Yeah.
I had to stick with where I couldn't just. I'm military veteran. I like the discipline. They wanted me to be a fireman. I was actually a full-time fireman for 2 years, but I couldn't stand that 24-hour
being on call ready thing.
You slept there, so
yeah.
If I can't go outside and walk my dog.
Yeah.
I gotta be there 24 hours. I can't
to get ready like that in 2 minutes or
they're all looking at me crazy like, why can't you work we're in the South, so in Louisiana all we have is chemical plant.
Okay.
Make big money doing that, but I can't do the whole 12-hour company shift on and off switch days.
You know, I thought that I had something that surprised me about what you said, because I've never really lived in the South, and so that was unfamiliar to me. This idea of like I've known sort of black communities that had certain standards of success, so college, blah blah, but the defining success, or the sort of the standard way of achieving status, being as civil servants, that's probably something that's more often in the South, where there are more black populations and stuff.
Definitely. So it's kind of a conflict if you hear like how our issues, like a black issue, like police brutality,
right.
Well, as much as they try to use that, it's a difference in the South because most of our cops are black,
right?
So it's not as much police brutality, because we, like, that's my cousin, my brother. I see it from both ends. I see why they hate cops, but at the same time, I'm literally a cop seeing it from the inside, where you don't know about the crackheads. They have, it's a different scenario.
Yeah.
Like, see the clips and stuff they show, but it's like, nah, we make up half the population.
Hey, so you know what? I'm working on a project that I'd love to talk to you about today. But I just that would be a great topic for us to practice, to develop this project with police blacks. That whole sort of discussion, and what are the elements involved, what are the judgments, and what can be anticipated, and all that stuff. All right, so I am eager to sort of tell you what I want. First thing I want to do is I want to light up this. So will the smoke bother you? Are you okay?
Oh, it depends on what kind of smoke that is. Is it a cigarette or non-cigarette?
There's tobacco in it.
Oh, okay. Tobacco in it.
There's tobacco in it, but the tobacco has a friend in it.
Okay.
Do you not smoke at all? You just smoke pure?
No, I don't. Yeah, I don't. But dude, I only say, I don't say tobacco. I say cigarettes.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you insert your own tobacco, you got your own wrap and you mix it. No, that's fine.
Ah, okay. Well, that's what this is. Yeah, just so well wrapped that you couldn't tell.
Yeah. No, I'm talking about, this is a Camel unfiltered.
Right. Okay.
No, I'm good.
All right. So, I'm gonna make some bold claims. But I do think that I can back them up. And what I was thinking of as a little pretend game of make-believe, I was wondering whether, and this won't be enforced, or it doesn't, where there's no minimum time, but if you could pretend like I know everything, particularly about the mind, and humoring me, I don't know everything, and I'm gonna say that, I'm gonna say, oh, this we don't know, blah blah, but pretend that I do, such that even when what I say, well, I mean, you seem to already have a lot of intuitions and understandings that correspond to what I'm gonna say, but there are maybe gonna be times when it's going to be counterintuitive, or when you're going to disagree. And I want you in those times to pretend like I know everything. And then when you can't anymore, Let me know at that point, and then you can stop. Does that sound all right? A little fun thing that I want to try.
Go for it.
Okay. All right. So, you got a computer in front of you?
Yes.
Can I share a document with you?
Sure.
All right. Can you text me your email? Hold on. Just give me 2 seconds. I mean, a little bit longer. I'm exaggerating. I mean, underdurating. Notify people. Send. Oh, I don't want to give you editing access. I'll give you commenting access. All right. So, all right. Try not to look at this right now. I just wanted it to be up and ready. Let me see what comes to mind as a little introduction to what I'm talking about here. Okay. I think I have a useful framework to answer most of our questions about the mind, or to explain what research has shown us about the mind in a usable way. So there's a metaphor, there's some vocabulary, there's some, language is useful to categorize things and so on. Okay. So now I could blabber all day long about where all this came from, like the context personally. Basically, I've never trusted my brain, never trusted that I knew truth, and I was a little bit confused about other people's confidence in their calculations, if you will. And then also they had all these ideas about free will, and I was just like, I don't understand logically how that makes sense, that you could be a first cause. Anyway, so I had a whole bunch of, and then people are religious. I just wasn't understanding that. I wanted to take those ideas seriously, but every time I had a conversation, there was nothing compelling in the conversation. So then, when I was a kid, I read Freakonomics, and which, these authors talk about all the weird things humans do. Then I read a book in 2009 called Predictably Irrational by an economist or psychologist. I don't know what he calls himself. And then I was hooked, learning about cognitive errors and our illusions regarding our own thinking processes, our confidence, the fact that we call ourselves rational, but 9 out of 10 people call themselves rational couldn't give you a definition of rational that made any sense. Anyway, so I was very confused by all of that, and I have ADHD, and so I was diagnosed very young, and so I was already interested a little bit in the brain, and so I've been reading about the brain since I was 12, and then since about 22, so the last like 10 years, reading specifically about cognition, beliefs, reasoning, all that stuff. So a major work, I don't know whether you've read it, but it's always the book that I recommend, is Daniel Kahneman's Thinking Fast and Slow, which doesn't, I think it theory goes farther than Kahneman's book. Not to insult Kahneman, but it's really what set me on this new understanding of what thinking and reasoning is. When I was a kid and I was wondering about religion and stuff, the typical explanation was that there was some emotional reason that people believe in these things. And I don't think I was really buying that. And then Kahneman explains, it's not that we have this reasoning faculty and then this emotional thing, and sometimes emotion interferes. In fact, the reasoning system, let's call it cognition, has 2 parts. One that tries to come up with answers as quickly as possible, and then another one that will engage a little bit more with the material and have a more nuanced calculation of the stimuli or whatever. Because of basic concepts of energy efficiency, obviously we evolved with a preference for that first system called System 1 to execute, and for us to just go with whatever that comes up with, rather than System 2 jumping in, using a bunch of calories to really analyze or something like that. So that was the major sort of thing. That wasn't about emotion. Anyway, all right. So now so that's the personal context. Now the theoretical timeline. Are you with me? I'm not, this isn't, okay, all right. So, so I'm inspired by this idea of all of these different cognitive biases, all of these different errors that we do systematically, not things that influence our thinking, but things that are part of our steps in thinking. And so I came up with a model of the mind, and there are lots of obviously models of the mind. There's System 1, System 2, which is System 1's that knee-jerk sort of those reflexive interpretations. System 2 a bit more nuanced. There's Freud, right, with ego, id, and superego. So basically, what I did was I said, okay, here's what I'm going to call it. Ego is that central rational self. The bid. BID instead of id. The bid is that intuition, those automatic processing mechanisms that give you that instinct, that idea. And then there's another piece, but never mind it. And so I did a presentation and I was explaining the bid represented as a dog. And it was like, right now, we're following our instinct. The dog barks, we say, okay, there's a threat. But we need to not take so seriously the dog. Listen to the dog, because sometimes the dog's going to notice things that we don't. But also, we should be the master of the dog. And there have been other similar mottos. The man and the elephant, or the anyway. So I'm thinking about this idea: the ego, the rational central self, who should be the controller of the bid, who is the source of quick interpretations and instincts. And the idea is to, when it's the bid talking, for you to jump in. But then I had a problem. What the fuck am I talking about that when the bid's talking? How the hell do I know when a thought came from the bid or when the thought was mine? Because just the fact that I'm able to put words to it, that doesn't necessarily mean it was me who came up with it. It may have still been the bid, and then I'm just adding words to it. You with me? And so I realized that I couldn't distinguish between this controlling rational self who somehow has this sense of when the bid, and then this idea seemed absurd to me that the ego could intervene and go, okay, we're going to stop being irrational now. We're now going to use the rational processes. That didn't make any sense to me. So then we get to the ego myth. I realize, holy shit, I don't exist. There is no ego. Instead, the mind is like just a whole bunch of dogs interacting, a whole bunch of instincts, and the loudest dog at a given time, or how they interact, is what produces the output. All I am is kind of the output. Okay, so now we're gonna skip to the juice so I can stop talking. So then over the years, the 5 years or whatever that followed, me realizing that we sort of as a single entity don't exist, I started thinking about, well, then how can we talk about the mind? And so the brain is 86 billion neurons, right? It starts at 100 billion. Some get pruned away when they aren't used, get to 86 billion. You've got these neurons have up to 10,000 connections each, okay? So we're talking about an inconceivable amount of connections and different permutations possible, okay? Those are the elements of the brain, these neurons or the connections between them. Why not? Why wouldn't the element of the mind be as small? Wouldn't it be, why, instead of thinking about ourselves as just three pieces, superego, ego, id, or, you know, how I had ego and bid, or system one, system two, left brain, right brain. What if it's much more nuanced than that? And so basically, how do things happen in the world? They happen cause and effect. Well, you know, okay, quantum mechanics be damned, okay? Things happen cause and effect, conditions, consequence. So the idea of the theory is, it's not, I mean, it's something that's been demonstrated by research. It's not something I just